So this video was inspired by a tweet I wrote back in January of this year, January 12th. So it says, many entrepreneurs, quote entrepreneurs, especially in music, have full-time jobs that keep their lights on. Don't be fooled thinking these folks are living good off of music like that. Then go out and try to do the same. That's the quickest way to go broke and fall into a deep depression. Then this is a whole thread. It's not a long thread. I'm going to link the thread in the comments below. I just want to read the next two though, so that way you can see the full thread. But yeah, let me read the next two. Then after that I said, and if they don't have a full-time job, they more than likely got a significant other or spouse paying the bills while they grow their business. It's not so black and white. There are a lot of gray areas that many don't talk about. And it's sad because there are people out here bringing harm on themselves by being easily influenced by the smoke and mirrors of the industry. Oh boy. Now, I may ruffle some feathers with this video, so I'm gonna try to be nice. But y'all know I gotta keep it real. I have to keep it real. What's funny was that I wrote that back in January 12th, 2020. And this is something that I say quite a bit too, that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in this industry. And sadly, I had to find out the hard way, which is why I'm doing this video, so you guys can save yourself a lot of time. And that way you guys can set realistic, keyword, realistic expectations of your journey in the music industry. Success doesn't happen overnight. I know a lot of people say that, but it's true. But it's also, let me also say that success in the industry does not happen like a lot of people say it does. Okay, there's a lot of things in this industry that's glorified, but it's very misleading. And I see a lot of people either losing their lives or losing their livelihood or their families just from pursuing it. So not saying that you can't earn a decent living in a creative or music industry. You can, but it's so important that you set realistic expectations. Like, not everyone is going to be Drake. Not everyone is going to be a Timbaland, okay? But you can earn a living in the music business. And one of the reasons why I'm going off my script here, or my outline, but I want to say that one of the reasons why I started my podcast, Rich Off Passion, was because I wanted to interview and talk to people who are literally rich off their passion. And rich, what I mean by rich is it's not a monetary value. It's not how much you have in your bank account, but the fact that you're living a decent life off your passion, what it is that you're passionate about. A lot of people are living well, off of their music and their creativeness full time. So I really wanted to show that, because a lot of people don't show that side of things. They make it seem like there's only, that it's black and white. Like, you either poor, you're the poor, independent, hungry artist, or you're Drake. There's no in between. And there's the thing is, there's a lot of gray areas within that. There's a lot of stages between that. Some people may be okay making $50,000. Some people may be okay making $100,000 off their work. You don't have to go from being broke to Drake. There's a lot of in between, and that's working for a lot of people. So, like I said, I want to be realistic and share those stories of people that are doing well, okay, full time in their creative industry. So I just wanted to say that. Definitely check Rich Off Passion out. I have a couple episodes already, but I got a really dope lineup of guests who are doing just that I can't wait to speak to and to share publicly. I mean, these conversations are going to be super dope. So, like I said, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. After tweeting that in January, ironically, there was an article that was posted by Variety on August 13th of this year. The title, "The Music Industry Sideways. Top execs often hold down separate gigs simultaneously." That's the title. Again, I'll drop the link down below in the comments. Well, not in the comments, in the description of the video. I'll have the link there. I just want to read a little bit of that before I get into my spiel. But in that, it says, "It's not uncommon for a music exec to hold down a top label or publishing job while also maintaining a distinct manager or producer gig. For power players, it signifies prestige as well as an abundance of creativity. But on lower rungs, meaning our little low level, double duty can also be a result of a single salary not cutting it." That's the piece I want to focus on. But on lower rungs, double duty can also be a result of a single salary not cutting it. There was, let me read this a little bit and then we're going to get into it. In the music industry, it can sometimes feel like old hat to be wearing only one hat. The business continues to show its openness to executives having multiple roles, even if it's not always clear which gig is their A job, like letter A, number one job, and which is their side hustle, if you will. Want to take a higher level position and still find outside fulfillment as a manager or producer? Not every company has a cavalier attitude about letting top employees potentially divide their attention. But for a multitude of reasons, a carve out in a contract that allows a key hire to keep pursuing an outside position is a common allowance, meaning that within some of these companies, managers are able to take on a job with that company, but have something in their contract stating that it's okay for them to continue operating their business or their side hustle. Quote, "Any great manager has entrepreneurship in their DNA, so having multiple interests, investments, and projects isn't unusual," notes one high-level industry source. "If you earn that much clout and power, you obviously did something right." Then the article goes on about it and just about how, you can easily get overwhelmed by doing a lot, but it could also work out in your favor. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to include a link down below so you guys can check out this article. Now let's get into it. Yeah. Don't let this music industry fool you. Okay. A lot of people have full-time jobs while operating their business. I made that mistake, okay, thinking that people were running their business full-time because it was taboo. Like, whoa. And we see this stuff online and then we try to emulate it, or we see it online and use it as motivation. Like, man, they got their management company, they doing that, man, they doing it full time, man, that's the only, they must be living well, when really they have multiple sources of revenue that they do not talk about, which can include a full-time job. Now, I also want to point out too that running a business full-time as well as having a full-time job, it was considered bad at one point. I mean, there was, even Gary Vaynerchuk, he had talked about it at one point.
Good pay, good benefits and all that.
If you have a full-time job, you're not an entrepreneur. So you have to understand, that is a very important part here, right? Mm-hmm. You may have entrepreneurial tendencies, you may have aspiration to be an entrepreneur, but when you are an entrepreneur, you can't breathe having a job.
So, like I said, at that point, he was like, he said, you're not an entrepreneur if you work full time. and a lot of people hold him at high standards. Like, they listen to him. And at that time, I think because of that, because you were actually looked down upon for having a full-time job and yet calling yourself an entrepreneur, a lot of people didn't disclose that information. And what happened was that people like me took leaps of faith, quit jobs to pursue their business and, full-time. This also resulted in, like I said before, a lot of people, they jumped off ledges, literally. They either committed suicide, or they had thoughts of it, or, they ended up being homeless. I mean, there was a lot of bad things happening. They ended up in a lot of debt. There was a lot of stuff happening around this time when this whole entrepreneurship conversation was going on. And a lot of people don't talk about that. A lot of people don't talk about the downside of it, and that, you really have to plan your exit from working a full-time job in a certain way in order to sustain entrepreneurship. So I want to give you guys 3 things to consider if you guys are thinking about just taking the plunge and just leaping off into entrepreneurship full time. Now, one thing I will say is not to quit your job, okay? Unless you're financially ready. Do not quit. Have at least 6 months of expenses saved, maybe a year. All right. In a episode of Rich Off Passion with Patrice Perkins, the attorney at and owner of Creative Genius Law, she said in that episode that she had 6 months saved before she quit her full-time job. And then her full-time job actually ended up becoming a client of hers. So she still worked with them, but in a different capacity. So she didn't just leap. She had some savings and negotiated her employment with them. Definitely transition by the way of freelancing. Okay. Start off by taking on a couple of clients, get a couple of clients, get that going, build it up as a freelancer before you take the leap. Okay, that's basically what I did. I operated as a freelancer for years, taking on various different types of side projects. For one, it helped me build my experience. But yeah, definitely do that. Transition by the way of freelancing. Another thing is to lower your expenses. This is something else that I did. Cut back on whatever you can cut back on. Cut back on the cable. If you got all these premium channels, strip them down. You building a business. You don't need to watch TV. Okay. Cut back on the cable, on your phone plan. Hell, you can even downsize your apartment. Me personally, I went from a 2-bedroom to a studio when I took the leap. Okay. To just save some money. It was just me anyway. What I need 2 bedrooms for. As long as I had a room to sleep in, a shower to wash my what, I'm good. Okay. Also, another way to lower your expenses is to don't go out or eat out as much. Make coffee at home instead of spending $3 to $5 at Starbucks. Save money by making it at home. I still make coffee at home. I'll go to Starbucks or a coffee shop very rarely. Maybe once a month, if that. And I do that, the main reason is because them drinks have a lot of calories. That's that. It's good, but it's a lot of calories. I just rather make it at home. So definitely lower your expenses. Look at your budget, see what you're spending out every month, and find ways that you can cut back. And then last but not least, do like the others in the industry. Try to get a job in your chosen industry. Okay. In that article, the Variety article, a lot of those people that had management companies on the side, their full-time job though was in music. It was in the music industry. So like you may have an executive at Columbia, but yet they had their own management roster on the side. So they were still in the same lane. Doing that's dope because for one, you're building relationships. Okay. You're building your network. off of that company's dime, which is good. You're going to need that, because when you branch off onto your own full time, you're going to have to reach out and leverage those relationships that you've built while working at that full-time job. Okay. A lot of people transition into entrepreneurship by doing that. They get the job in their industry, and then they build their business and then break off. Okay. So that's the best way I would say to go about doing that. Try to get a job in the industry. Learn all you can on top of that. Don't just go just to build relationships, but learn. See how these people are running their business and soak it all up. This is not about stealing information, but learn and see how things in business is being conducted. So that way you can take those lessons and apply it to your own situation. So with that being said, like I said, don't get so caught up. Just to wrap this up, let me say this. Don't get caught up into what you see online, because a lot of people are not sharing the full truth. Just because you see they have their own company and live in a mansion doesn't mean that their company is funding that mansion. Okay? A lot of people, there's a journey, there's levels to it. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. So don't get caught up in the smoke and mirrors. Definitely take your time and you do what's best for you and your situation and your household. Don't let these people on the internet trick you into a downward spiral. All right. So with that being said, do you work in the industry now? If not, let us know in the comments, what do you do now? Like, are you working at like a department store? Are you a carpenter? Let us know what you're doing now if it's outside of your preferred industry. And then also let us know, what's your exit strategy? How do you plan on transitioning from what you're doing now to actually becoming rich off your passion? What's your transition? Like, what's your strategy on making that transition? Let us know in the comments so we can, dialogue, talk about it, and, help you out. So with that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.